It is fantastic to have you back with us for another deep dive into the world of professional tennis. We have an absolutely monumental development breaking right now. A landscape-shifting story that is sending massive shockwaves through the entire Women's Tennis Association and has the whole sporting community buzzing with excitement. I need you to grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and really settle in because the news we are about to unpack today is nothing short of historic and could define the entire season. Just moments ago, tournament officials released the finalized draw and seeding structures for the upcoming 2027 BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, California. And we can now confirm a truly monumental update. Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino sensation who has been absolutely taking the tennis world by storm, has officially secured a coveted first-round bye at the tournament. Let me repeat that because the sheer magnitude of this achievement simply cannot be overstated for a player of her age and background. Alexandra Eala has stunned the entire WTA Tour and secured one of the most prestigious advantages in the sport: a direct path to the second round of the BNP Paribas Open. To truly grasp why this is such a seismic event, we have to zoom out and examine what Indian Wells actually represents in the global tennis ecosystem. This is not just another stop on the tour. The BNP Paribas Open is universally revered as the fifth Grand Slam due to its scale and prestige. It is a massive WTA 1000 mandatory event, which means every single top-tier player on the planet is required to compete, featuring a colossal 96-player main draw. In a bracket of that immense size, only the top 32 seeded players are granted a first-round bye, effectively vaulting them straight into the second round, while the rest of the field must fight for survival from day one. Earning one of those 32 seeds is the ultimate hallmark of the absolute elite in women's tennis. It serves as a major status symbol, a significant tactical advantage, and undeniable proof of a player's sustained excellence over the previous 52 weeks of competition. For Alexandra Eala to step into this elite bracket at just 20 years old is a phenomenal, unprecedented milestone for her young career and a landmark moment for Philippine tennis history. This advantage means she completely bypasses the grueling opening matches, gaining crucial extra days for rest, physical recovery, and strategic planning. She gets to preserve her energy while her unseeded competitors are forced to wear themselves down, battling in the brutal dry heat of the California desert. This news comes as a massive surprise to many casual observers who may not follow the day-to-day intricacies of the rankings. However, if you have been paying close attention to the sheer momentum Eala has built up over the past few weeks and months, you will know that this is the culmination of an incredibly strategic and hard-fought campaign. Just a few days ago, she wrapped up an absolutely blistering run at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. That was another prestigious WTA 1000 event where the competition was fierce and the stakes were incredibly high. She battled her way through a stacked field, securing a massive victory over world number 6, Jasmine Paolini, and taking down seasoned veterans like Sorana Cîrstea and Hailey Baptiste before finally bowing out in the quarterfinals to world number 4, Coco Gauff. The ranking points she accumulated from that stellar quarterfinal finish have propelled her live ranking up the charts at rocket speed. In previously sitting at number 47 in the world, after hitting a career high of 40 earlier this month, the massive points haul from Dubai has catapulted her into the magical top 32 threshold just in time for the Indian Wells seeding cutoff. The WTA locker room is absolutely buzzing right now because the perception of Alexandra Eala has fundamentally shifted. She is no longer just a rising star, a dangerous wildcard, or a promising qualifier hoping for a lucky break. By securing this first-round bye, she has officially cemented her status as a seeded threat at one of the biggest and most difficult tournaments in the world. She has forced the entire tennis establishment to recognize her as a legitimate part of the upper echelon of the sport. Opponents can no longer hope to catch her off guard in the early rounds when she might be vulnerable. They now have to prepare to face a rested, highly ranked, and supremely confident Eala in the later stages of the tournament, and that is a total paradigm shift. This is the specific moment where a prodigy transitions into a bona fide powerhouse. The implications of this draw are massive, as top 10 players will now be looking over their shoulders, knowing that the Filipina powerhouse is waiting in the wings. She enters the event armed with her devastating left-handed forehand, her lethal two-handed backhand, and a newfound tactical maturity that has allowed her to dismantle multiple top-tier opponents this season. We are looking at a historic breakthrough that could define the next decade of Asian tennis. Today, we are going to break down exactly how she reached this point, what this means for her strategy in the California desert, and why this matters. We will discuss how this first-round bye could be the catalyst for the greatest tournament run of her young career. To truly appreciate the gravity of Alexandra Eala securing a first-round bye at Indian Wells, we have to look back. We need to trace the extraordinary trajectory that brought her to this exact moment in time, Sunday, February 21st, 2027. This has been a journey characterized by relentless ambition, meticulous technical development, and an unwavering belief in her own potential. Let us take a step back and examine the very foundation of her game. Eala is a product of the renowned Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain, where she developed not only her physical prowess, but also that fierce, never-say-die mentality. You can clearly see Nadal's influence stamped all over her game. It is visible in the heavy topspin she generates, the grueling baseline rallies she survives, her sheer physical endurance, and the left-handed angles that constantly pull right-handed opponents out of their comfort zones. But Eala is not just a baseline grinder anymore. She has grown far beyond that label. She has evolved into an aggressive all-court player who is equally comfortable dictating play from the center or defending desperately from the corners. The true turning point, the moment the world truly woke up to her limitless potential, occurred at the 2026 Miami Open. She walked into that tournament as a complete wildcard, sitting way down at number 140 in the global rankings. Frankly, nobody in the punditry box expected her to make it past the opening weekend. But she didn't just survive. She thrived, orchestrating what can only be described as one of the most fairy tale runs we have witnessed in recent tennis history. It wasn't just luck. She systematically dismantled Grand Slam champions like Jelena Ostapenko and Madison Keys before pulling off the absolute unthinkable by taking down the world number 2 Iga Swiatek. That unprecedented surge all the way to the Miami semifinals etched her name in the record books as the very first Filipino player to ever reach the Final Four of a prestigious WTA 1000 event. Becoming the first wildcard to sweep 3 major champions in straight sets at a single tournament was a massive feat, one that catapulted her straight into the top 100. It was a clear statement of intent. She proved to the world that her potential wasn't limited to just being a solid tour professional. Her ceiling is sky-high with the capability to become the absolute best in the world. Now, let us fast forward to the current 2026 season. The pressure on any athlete to follow up such a massive breakthrough year is absolutely immense. We see so many young prodigies suffer from that proverbial sophomore slump, struggling once the rest of the tour figures out their game and the weight of expectations begins to drag them down. However, Alex Eala has done the exact opposite. She has fully embraced that pressure and expanded her schedule, taking on a rigorous, demanding calendar to build both her ranking points and her mental toughness. She kicked off 2026 in style by powering her way to the semifinals of the ASB Classic over in Auckland, New Zealand. Despite suffering a tough first-round exit at the Australian Open against the big-hitting Alicia Parks, she refused to hit the panic button. Instead, she went back to the drawing board, played a challenger event in Manila to reset mentally in front of her adoring home crowd, and then launched a highly successful swing through the Middle East. This Middle East swing has proven to be the absolute key to unlocking her spot at Indian Wells. Starting in Abu Dhabi, she showed grit by pushing through to the quarterfinals. There was a brief stumble in Doha, but it was in Dubai this past week where everything truly clicked into gear for the young star. Her victory over Jasmine Paolini, a solidified top 10 stalwart, was nothing short of a masterclass in tactical execution and court awareness. Eala utilized her lefty serve out wide to open up the court geometry, consistently punishing Paolini's second serve and holding her nerve during those tight, high-pressure tiebreaks. Even during her quarterfinal loss to Coco Gauff, a match where the Americans' elite movement and veteran experience ultimately prevailed, there were positives. Eala showed genuine flashes of brilliance and took away invaluable lessons regarding exactly what it takes to consistently compete at the absolute peak of this sport. The 215 ranking points she acquired during that run in Dubai were essentially her golden ticket. Those points pushed her live ranking from 47 right into the crucial top 32 tier, guaranteeing her a seeded position in the California desert. So what does earning a first-round bye actually mean from a tactical and physiological standpoint for a player like her? At a grueling 2-week event like the BNP Paribas Open, it means absolutely everything. The atmospheric conditions at Indian Wells are notoriously difficult to master. The dry desert air causes the ball to fly off the racket with speed, but the gritty court surface slows the ball down significantly the moment it bounces. This creates a unique and tricky dynamic where players have to generate their own pace while simultaneously dealing with high bouncing balls that are incredibly difficult to control. Consequently, matches in the desert often turn into physical wars of attrition that test the limits of a player's endurance. By skipping the first round entirely, Eala avoids a potential 3-set dogfight against a hungry qualifier or a dangerous unseeded floater looking for an upset. She effectively buys herself an extra 3 to 4 days of crucial rest and acclimatization to the specific conditions. She can spend that valuable time on the practice courts, fine-tuning her string tension, adjusting her balance, and scouting her potential second-round opponent. Furthermore, the psychological advantage here is immense. When you are unseeded, you enter the tournament with a frantic sense of urgency and vulnerability. You know that just one bad day against an unknown opponent will send you packing immediately. However, when you are seeded with a bye, you arrive with an aura of authority. You are the player that the others have to prepare for. Eala will now have the luxury to sit back and watch two unseeded players battle it out for the right to face her. Whoever wins that grueling first-round match will already have miles on their legs and the mental fatigue of a competitive match. Meanwhile, Eala will step onto the court fresh, sharp, and ready to dictate the terms of engagement. This is exactly how deep tournament runs are manufactured. This is the mechanism by which players transition from being the plucky underdog to being the heavy favorite. Looking ahead to the potential draw, Eala's left-handed game makes her a nightmare matchup for almost anyone in the field. If she faces a heavy-hitting baseliner, she can use her slice and angles to disrupt their rhythm. If she faces a defensive counterpuncher, she has the raw power to hit through the slow courts. The key for her success will be maintaining a high first serve percentage and ruthlessly capitalizing on every single breakpoint opportunity. She has recently stated that she wants to use a small break before Indian Wells to reassess her physical state and work on injury prevention, identifying this as a bridge to closing the gap with the top 5 players. This demonstrates a remarkable level of maturity for her age. She isn't just satisfied with being seeded, she is actively looking for those marginal gains and incremental improvements that will eventually lead to a major title. The rest afforded by this bye perfectly aligns with her long-term goal of physical preservation and peak performance. The broader impact of this achievement on Philippine tennis and Asian tennis as a whole is truly phenomenal. Eala is not just playing for herself out there. She carries the hopes of an entire nation every time she steps onto the court, and the roaring support she received from the Filipino diaspora in Dubai is a testament to her status as a genuine national icon. By locking down a critical seed at this tournament, often hailed as the 5th Grand Slam, Alexandra Eala is doing far more than just climbing the rankings. She is proving to an entire generation of aspiring Asian talents that it is entirely possible to shatter the glass ceiling in a sport that has historically been the playground of European and American icons. She is effectively rewriting the history books with every single match she plays, tearing up the old scripts week after week, while the global tennis community watches her ascent in absolute wonder. Make no mistake, the entire Women's Tennis Association has been served a massive notice. Alexandra Eala is not traveling to the California desert just to make up the numbers or merely participate in the festivities. She touches down in Indian Wells as a legitimate seeded contender, fully equipped with the ranking points and a diverse, dangerous repertoire to win the whole thing. Which brings us to the conclusion of this extensive breakdown of today's monumental story. Before we sign off, let us take a brief moment to truly contextualize the magnitude of the ground Alexandra Eala has covered, and exactly what these developments signal for the battles looming in the immediate future. We kicked off this broadcast with the headline-grabbing confirmation that the 20-year-old Filipina phenomenon has officially secured a highly coveted first-round bye at the upcoming 2027 BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells. We unpacked the immense prestige of this WTA 1000 event, a tournament so grueling and significant that it is frequently referred to by insiders as the unofficial 5th Grand Slam. And we detailed why earning a top 32 seeding to bypass the opening round is the definitive hallmark of a player who has reached the sport's absolute elite tier. We traced her spectacular, almost cinematic rise over the course of the last 12 months. From her legendary giant-killing run at the 2026 Miami Open, to her relentlessly consistent and physically demanding 2027 campaign, capped off by that brilliant quarterfinal finish recently in Dubai. We analyze the overwhelming tactical, athletic, and psychological edges that this seeding battle will afford her as she prepares to navigate the harsh, unique conditions of the California desert courts. Furthermore, we discussed how her lethal left-handed game, combined with a newfound mental maturity, transforms her from a prospect into a bona fide threat to make a deep championship contending run. This achievement represents so much more than just a convenient scheduling perk. It is a profound, undeniable statement of arrival on the world stage. For the longest time, the conversation surrounding Eala was fixated on her potential whispering about what she might one day become. Well, today that narrative has fundamentally shifted strictly to the present tense. The future we waited for has finally landed. She is no longer the underdog chasing the elite pack. She is now standing shoulder to shoulder as a cemented member of the elite herself. She has carved out her seat at the high table through sheer grit, sublime technical brilliance, and a burning competitive fire that simply refuses to be extinguished by any opponent. The surge in ranking points, the lucrative prize money, and the global accolades are merely the byproducts of a player who has dedicated her entire life to mastering her craft. And she now uses these next few days to rest, recover, and prime her body for the grueling Sunshine Double. As she tackles the twin challenges of Indian Wells and the subsequent Miami Open, where she has a mountain of points to defend, she enters the arena not as a hopeful praying for a miracle, but as a seeded powerhouse fully expecting to dominate. Casting our eyes toward the weeks ahead, the pressure on her shoulders will undoubtedly be immense, and the media spotlight will be burning brighter and hotter than ever before. However, if her recent high-stakes clashes against heavy hitters like Paulini Madison Keys and world number 1 Iga Swiatek have taught us anything, it is that Alexandra Eala does not just survive the pressure, she thrives under the love. Brightest lights. She embraces the heavy weight of expectations and channels the energy of her millions of worldwide fans into a relentless, high-octane performance on the court. When she finally steps onto the hard courts of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden in just a couple of weeks, she will be fresh, highly motivated, and armed with the supreme confidence of knowing she has already stunned the entire WTA hierarchy. At this stage, the only thing left for her to do is to step out there and completely conquer the moment. Thank you so much for tuning in today for this deep dive into one of the most thrilling and rapidly evolving storylines in the world of professional tennis. The landscape of the WTA is shifting right before our very eyes, and we are privileged to witness the real-time ascension of a genuine global superstar. If you found this analysis insightful and want to stay completely up to speed with all the breaking news, match breakdowns, and deep dives throughout the BNP Paribas Open and beyond, make sure you smash that subscribe button right now. Please leave a comment down below and tell me your honest thoughts. How deep do you think Alexandra Eala will go in Indian Wells now that she has this massive first-round bye advantage in her pocket? Are we looking at a quarter-finalist, a semi-finalist? Or do you believe she has the firepower to go the distance and lift the trophy on Sunday? I want to hear your boldest predictions. Do not forget to like this video to support the channel and ring those notification bells so you never miss a single update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep that passion for this beautiful sport alive, and I will see you all in the next video as we continue to track history in the making.